You're looking at the president, general manager, and coach of the Edmonton Oilers. This is his team. He built it, he tutored it, and he's definitely in charge of it. He's fiercely proud of its achievements, and he's terribly demanding of its players. He is by turns honest, blunt, understanding, and determined. He has assembled one of the most fearsome collections of offensive talent in the game's history. His name is Glen Sather. Slats to his players and friends. This is the 5th season that Sather has coached in the NHL, and now the challenge is to prove that he's got the right combination to win the Stanley Cup.
Northlands Coliseum, home of one of hockey's most exciting teams. When the building first opened in January 1975, the Oilers weren't much of a franchise. A collection of journeymen, free agents, and fringe players who kept careers going thanks to the competition provided by 2 professional leagues, both of whom were desperate for skaters. The next year, a new journeyman arrived on the scene. His name was Glen Sather. He played for 6 NHL teams over 9 years, amassing a grand total of 80 goals and 113 assists. And 7 months after joining the Oilers, he became the team's player coach.
It was something that didn't happen overnight. It was, I was approached 2 or 3 times before then, and Glen was running the team and wanted me to start running it full-time basis, not only running the practices, but running the games. And I was really reluctant to do it because we weren't in a very good position to make the playoffs, and I thought that he was really looking for someone to put the blame onto. And finally, he told me that I'd better do it, or I wouldn't be playing. So at that time, it was a matter of survival, so I did do it, and we won a lot of our games to make the playoffs, and everything just kind of went from there at that point.
As the NHL and WHA began to move toward merger, Sather began to weed out those who could not play the game the way he felt it should be played. New players were brought in through trades and the amateur draft. Then came the day in 1978 when news that a 17-year-old from Brantford, Ontario named Wayne Gretzky might become an Edmonton Oiler.
But Wayne looked like one of the kids that was, he's out there with his parent. He looked like he was somebody that'd been brought out for a pregame skate with a player. And boy, I was really hesitant when I first saw him because he looked so small. And then that night we played, and Wayne scored 2 goals, and Dave Dryden was a goaltender, and he scored 1 from behind the net, and the other one he went around Paul Schmier and scored in a backhand shot. And when he was on the ice, he had the puck. But he had something about him that nobody else had, or nobody else that I'd seen had. And that was enough for me. I phoned Peter and said, no matter what it costs, you'd get him.
Getting Gretzky gave the Oilers instant respectability when the team joined the NHL in the fall of 1979. They were competitive from the very start, even against the best the NHL had to offer. In the next 3 years, Sather, who by this time was also the team's general manager, had shrewdly added an impressive supporting cast, molding it around the talents of his young superstar.
And that's, basically how this team has been developed. We needed people that would complement him, guys that would get in the hole and give him the puck when he got in the hole. And we needed a quarterback, and we got Paul Coffey. He was that kind of a player. We needed somebody like Coffey to make the plays work. And, you need more guys than one defenseman like that. But all of our defensemen basically move the puck very well.
That first year, the Oilers made the playoffs only to lose in the first round to the Philadelphia Flyers. The man who scored the winning goal in the second overtime period was a brash young forward, Ken Linseman. Linseman was destined to join the Oilers 2 years later. The next year, an even greater high, a memorable series against the Montreal Canadiens. A young goaltender named Andy Moog, a 7th-round draft pick in 1980, moved into the spotlight. The Oilers strolled into Montreal and beat the mighty Canadiens at the Forum in the first 2 games of the series. They came home to a tumultuous welcome and eliminated the Habs in 3 straight. The season ended 6 games later. The Islanders knocked the Oilers out of the quarterfinals en route to their 2nd Stanley Cup. In the Oilers' 3rd season, continued improvement in the standings and on the ice. By this time, Sather had added players like Yari Curry, Paul Coffey, and Grant Fuhr. All players who could enhance Gretzky's talents. All players who fit the Sather mold. A blend of talents, character, and determination. But the season ended on a sour note. An upset 3-2 loss to the Los Angeles Kings in the first round of the playoffs. It was time for soul-searching for the boss.
The team was ready to play then. I really feel that they were so worried about losing that they went out and lost. But, you know, that year we hardly played Paul Coffey. I mean, he had a tough year. It was his sophomore year, and he had a lot of self-doubts. Paul is 10 times the hockey player now that he was then. Our team has come a long way. We weren't really ready to be as good as we were. I guess people expected a lot from the hockey team then. To be a championship hockey team, you have to grow into the role. You just can't have one great season and then be a Stanley Cup champion. It doesn't work like that.
The nightmare of year 3 was all the motivation the Oilers needed as the 82-83 season got underway. The Oilers charged out of the starting gate, made a shambles of the Smythe division, and tied for second overall. They defeated Winnipeg, Calgary, and Chicago en route to another date with the Islanders, this time in the Stanley Cup Final. But Billy Smith proved to be too big an obstacle. And the Oilers were finished in 4. That's the scene set for 83-84, the Oilers' 5th season in the NHL. In his quest to build a champion, Glen Sather had come a long way. He felt he had all the pieces. He was looking for consistency and intensity. And he was convinced that if he could bring out those qualities, the Oilers would win the Stanley Cup. The new season got off to a good start early in September. Kevin Lowe, the Oilers' first draft pick in the NHL, signed a new contract, ending speculation he might join the Chicago Blackhawks as a free agent. Sather, always a tough negotiator, had spent most of the summer trying to sign Lowe. It wasn't easy. Sather was not about to wreck the team's salary structure, even for an outstanding talent like Lowe. But he knew enough about Kevin's loyalty to his teammates to know that if the decision was close, Kevin would opt to stay with a winner. The Oilers opened with a 5-4 win on home ice against Toronto. They went on to run up a string of 7 straight victories before being stopped by Los Angeles. The last of those 7 wins was in Vancouver, where the Oilers struck for 7 goals in the final period in a 10-7 rout of the Canucks. It was a typical blitzkrieg by the game's most exciting offensive team. But the surprise was that the team's policeman, Dave Semenko, turned scorer with 2 goals, including the winner. The winning streak was stopped the next night in Los Angeles, but the Oilers finished October with a record of 9 wins, 2 losses, and a tie. Good for 19 of a possible 24 points. They were in first place in the Smythe, a spot they would occupy for the rest of the year. As November began, the Oilers were in the midst of an 8-game winning streak, and Wayne Gretzky was running away with the scoring race. In 14 games that month, Gretzky scored 17 goals and added 32 assists. Through the end of the month, Gretzky had 63 points in just 25 games. He and Yari Curry became a fearsome duo against NHL goaltenders. Curry ending the month by tying an NHL record against Philadelphia, a string of 14 games with at least 1 assist. But the hockey world was mesmerized by another streak. As November gave way to December, Gretzky had scored at least a point in 26 consecutive games. His most productive evening was in Winnipeg on November 6th. The Oiler log for November: 10 wins, 2 losses, and 2 ties. In 14 games, 22 of a possible 28 points. Most important, the Oilers showed a capacity to win on the road, an essential ingredient for any team hoping to win the Stanley Cup. One more November note. Glen Sather traded center Tom Ralston to Pittsburgh for little-known Kevin McClellan. McClellan was installed at center between Pat Hughes and Dave Hunter. The combination, an instant hit.
I'm especially pleased with the way Kevin McClellan's been playing. I think that, you know, he's something that we've been trying to find for a long time. An aggressive, big center iceman that's smart and picks his spots. He certainly seems to be able to fit in well with Hunter and Hughes. And that's what we've been looking for a couple of years. And if he can continue to play like that, I think he's really going to help us.
It was something of a roller coaster ride through December. Win one, lose one, win one, lose one. A lot of attention focused on Gretzky, who tied his own record of 30 straight games with at least a point. He did it in a 3-2 loss to the Canucks in Vancouver, December 10th. 3 nights later, the Oilers lost again to the Islanders, a team Edmonton had not beaten since the spring of 1982. But the loss was overshadowed by Gretzky's record-breaking exploits. He picked up his 300th career goal and 1 assist in a losing cause. The streak now stood at 31 games and counting. The pressure of breaking the record reduced, the Oilers caught fire and went on a 12-game unbeaten streak that carried over into the new year. Among the highlights, the Oilers' second shutout of the season. December 30th, Grant Fuhr played brilliantly, and the Oilers blanked the Boston Bruins 2-0 at the Coliseum. It was Fuhr's first ever pro shutouts, and coming against one of the league's best teams, it was a night to remember. But a cloud was slowly gathering over the Oiler dressing room. Dave Lumley had to be helped from the ice after injuring his knee in the Islander loss. He was to miss the next 21 games. Then on Boxing Day in Calgary, Dave Semenko caught a skate and twisted his knee. He missed the next 18. As 1983 ended, the Oiler record, 9 wins, 3 losses, and a tie. For December, 19 of a possible 26 points. Already, the Oiler control over the Smythe division, insurmountable.
The new year focused more and more attention on the hockey team, particularly on Gretzky. Every night in which he scored at least a point, he added to his own NHL record. The streak, the incredible streak. It reached 40 games, then 45, then 50. The closest it came to ending was in Chicago on January 11th, when Gretzky needed an empty net goal with 2 seconds remaining. It was a giddy, intense month, not only for Gretzky, but for the whole team. And Glen Sather had all he could do to keep things under control.
Wayne's streak just comes from being part of the team. I don't think that he ever plays for himself. He plays to keep the team moving, and he's just a great team guy. He'll give the puck to anyone, and he moves the puck around so well. He's never really taken advantage of anything except being able to pass the puck and give the puck to the open guy, and it creates openings for him because he does it so well.
During that time of the Gretzky streak, the media pressure, particularly on the road in the East, must have been something overwhelming.
It was pretty strong. But we've become fairly used to it, I think. I learned to say no to a lot of guys. They get upset with me. But personally, I don't care about that. I just want the team to be protected and for them to play well and to win the games. Criticism we get because we don't always cooperate with the press really doesn't bother me. I think that we have a role to help them and to let the public know what's going on. But if it interferes with the play of the team, then we don't do anything. The team comes first.
In all, Gretzky counted 19 goals and 21 assists in the Oilers' 13 games in January. But the month ended on a sour note, and the streak ended at 51 games. Northlands Coliseum, January 28th. The opposition, the Los Angeles Kings. It was somehow appropriate. The Kings had stopped 2 long winning streaks by the Oilers earlier in the season. The first period foretold what was to come. Charlie Huddy missed a wide-open nets on a Gretzky setup. And try as he might, Gretzky could not extend the streak. Time ran out on one of the most incredible records in league history. An Edmonton crowd accustomed to great moments in sport rose to salute one very special athlete. The Gretzky streak stats: 61 goals, 92 assists, 153 points in 51 games, an average of 3 points per game. The amazing streak had taken its toll. A shoulder injury in Los Angeles, aggravated at the All-Star game, forced Gretzky out of the lineup for 5 games. Glen Sather had also lost his number 2 scorer, Jari Kurri, with a severely pulled hamstring. Kurri missed the next 12. Then against Vancouver, Mark Messier high-sticked the Canucks' Thomas Gradin and drew a 6-game suspension. Sather now was without 3 of his top 4 scorers, with a crucial 5-game road trip coming up in early February. The January log, 13 games, 10 wins, 2 losses, and a tie. 21 of a possible 26 points. But February would be a different story. The Oilers faced a rugged challenge. 15 games in 29 days. The new month began on a positive note. Without 3 of the top scorers, the Oilers whipped Calgary 10-5. Pat Hughes, away from his regular checking role, scored 5 times. He and Gretzky now share the club record for the most goals in one game. Then came the infamous road trip, a journey that saw the Oilers surrender 33 goals in 5 games. With Curry, Messier, and Gretzky out, the offense produced just 9 goals. Obviously, this team wasn't as good as Sather thought, especially without Gretzky.
You can't do it without Wayne. You can't do it without Mark Messier or Paul Coffey or the goaltenders or defensemen. Everybody's part of the team. I didn't think that our team would I was really surprised that they didn't play better on the road without Wayne and Yari being there. And, you know, there was a lot of theories of why we didn't play so well on that road trip. One of them was that we played afternoon games, which we'd really never done before. We didn't adjust when he wasn't there. But I was surprised that somebody else didn't just come to the front and become the leader that we needed at that point. And we didn't get it, and we lost. And guys were waiting for Wayne and Yari to come back, and then when they came back, away we went again.
By the time Messier returned, Gretzky and Curry were ready to play. On February 15th, the Winnipeg Jets walked into an ambush at the Coliseum. Messier got the team's 26th shorthanded goal of the season, an NHL record. The Oilers rolled to a 7-4 win over the Jets and embarked on an 8-game win streak. In his first 5 games back, Gretzky had 12 goals and 6 assists, 18 points. Messier, with a new long-term contract from Sather, celebrated with a hat trick against Toronto. Glen Anderson went on a rampage too. He had 12 goals in 15 games in February, including 2 in a month-ending loss to the Flyers. That defeat snapped the Oiler winning streak at 8 games. The loss to Philadelphia left many wondering. The Oilers had just 2 wins and a tie in 9 games against 3 of the NHL's top teams, the Flyers, the Islanders, and the Bruins. The futility streak against the Islanders now stood at 10 games. It was clear the Oilers were not facing that kind of opposition often enough. But what wasn't clear was whether Sather could get his players to adapt to that style enough to be effective against the NHL's best. An 8-game winning streak followed that disastrous road trip. It cooled out much of the criticism from fans and media. In February, the Oilers were 9-6, their worst month of the season. But still, a record more than half of the NHL's teams would have gladly taken for their own.
Is it disappointing to you sometimes the way Edmonton and maybe the Edmonton media expect so much from the Edmonton Oilers? You finished first place overall.
Well, expecting something and getting it are 2 different things. The Edmonton media has been getting very good hockey from this hockey club for a long time. And I think the hockey team is well taken care of by the media in a lot of situations. The only thing that bothers me is that the team is criticized because guys are trying to sell newspapers or trying to create controversy. If there's a great deal of truth instead of theory involved, then you really can't argue against it. But when guys create situations just so that it'll cause a little turmoil in the newspapers, that's what bothers me.
First place in the Smythe easily in hand. The emphasis in March on consistency and a tougher style in preparation for the playoffs. Mark Messier and Glen Anderson carried the offensive load. Messier had 12 goals and Anderson 13, including 4 against the Whalers. That pushed Anderson over 50 for the first time. Paul Coffey became the highest-scoring NHL defenseman since Bobby Orr as well. And Coffey's value to the Oilers was emphasized on March 13th in Quebec City. He scored the tying goal as well as the overtime winner. For Paul Coffey, an amazing 40 goals in his best NHL season. By their standards, Jari Kurri and Wayne Gretzky had a relatively quiet month. There was new spark, though, near the end of the year when Finnish national Raimo Suominen joined the team for the final 2 games. Gretzky went over the 200-point mark for the 2nd time, and the Oilers rewrote numerous team and NHL scoring standards. The monthly log, 10 wins in 13 games, to give the Oilers a club record of 56 victories and first place overall. As the season ended, Sather headed the troops to Banff. 3 days in the mountains, a chance to reflect on a satisfying season, but more importantly, a time to ponder a larger challenge ahead, the upcoming.
I know you've been asked this before, but how does one go about coaching Wayne Gretzky?
Now, Wayne is not, you don't have to coach Wayne so much. I think you have to manipulate Wayne more than anything on the ice and during some of the games. Wayne has some things that he doesn't do very well that he works hard at improving, and he'll come back in our end in a set pattern of getting out of our end in a hurry, which will cost us goals. Just like Paul Coffey will sometimes make mistakes because he gets into a pattern, and what we try to do is to break those habits so that we change his pattern and the opposing team can't figure him out. But you can't coach Wayne's individual talents. And the things that he does, he was born with most of that stuff. The positional play in our own end are the things that we keep trying to make him improve on. And he works hard at doing that.
Playing in the Smythe division, the competition isn't as tough. How would this team do in a division like the Patrick? Would that help this team even more?
Well, I wish it was a little bit tougher. And I don't mean to put the other teams down. If you look at some of the other divisions, the Patrick division, and just look at the whole conference. I mean, you play against New Jersey and Pittsburgh, and you know you're going to get 2 points. I mean, we haven't lost to Calgary or Winnipeg this year, but those teams play hard, and they make our team work hard. We're not going to get an easy 2 points from them. Although some of the games, it looks like they were pretty easy. But the Islanders and the Bruins, when they play against Pittsburgh and they play against New Jersey, they know they're going to win those games. So I think it kind of balances out once in a while. What we don't have is we don't have the teams like Philadelphia and the Rangers and the Islanders and the Bruins and Canadians and Quebec enough. I think we need to play against those teams more.
What did your team learn from the playoffs last year?
I still look at those games and think that if we had won the first game, we would have won the series against the Islanders. We just couldn't stop them once they got rolling. But if we had got ahead of them and they had to come from behind, it might have been a little different.
The Billy Smith incident, would you have played that differently, or would you play that differently?
Well, I would have now. I mean, when I did it, it was a calculated risk that I took. I needed some way to get Smith's mind off the game. And all the scouting reports that we'd received from our scouts said that Smith was the key to beating the Islanders. If we could get to him, we could beat them. So we needed something to disrupt him, to make him get away from what he was doing so well, but it obviously didn't work. You know, it didn't stop him. I mean, I think probably got better, if anything, and he seemed to get stronger at that point.
Is there a comparison between this team and the old Montreal Canadiens?
Well, we haven't, in my mind, we haven't won anything yet. We have to win the Stanley Cup before we can make any comparisons. And we haven't won the Stanley Cup yet, so you can't compare us against, you know, the Montreal Canadiens. They're a great hockey team. The Islanders are a great hockey team, and when you win, then you can make some comparisons. Now we haven't won anything.
Is winning that cup the only thing that will really make this season a success in your eyes?
Yeah, I think that's it. I mean, we've played well all year long and set out to do what we've done. Now what we've got left to do is win the Stanley Cup. The players now have spent so much time learning. They know what's expected of them. I just hope that they're mature enough now to accept the role that they're going to have to do, and they hope that they're willing to sacrifice at some point in time to win the game for us, whether you block a shot or you make a great play or you take a hit to make a great play in front of the net. You hope that you've covered your bases so that when you get to the time that we're ready to win, we're able to win. And I hope that we are. If we don't, you have to look at next year. It's not the end of the world if we don't win the Stanley Cup this year. We're young, we're strong, we're getting better all the time.
If you win, will you coach again next year?
No, it's like asking who's going to be the goaltender for the next game. You have to wait until that day comes around.
And so the drive to the Stanley Cup begins. Glen Sather has been on this trail 13 times before and never made it. Maybe 1984 will be his year.